we're going to fight for everything that we deserve, but at the same time, like, we need to play basketball. That's what our fans crave, and that's what all of you crave as well, is you want the product on the floor. And at the end of the day, that's how you make the money, that's how your market goes, that's what the fans get excited about, that's what the fans want to show up for. So, it's business and it's a negotiation, and there has to be compromise on both sides, and, we're starting to get down to the wire of it, and it's become really important, and obviously I want to help in any way I can, and I tried to educate myself the best I can. Obviously I can't speak to every single number. It's pretty.
Look at those 30 seconds right there. This might be the most crucial half-minute anyone in the WNBA hears this entire season. Everyone's wrapped up in negotiations and back-and-forth contract talks, but Caitlin Clark just sliced straight through the noise with one clear point: this opportunity cannot slip through our fingers. And honestly, she's speaking nothing but facts.
And today, you guys, WNBA fans are so excited because Caitlin Clark is finally back on the court playing basketball, and it seems like she is 100%. She is going 5v5. Team USA is currently holding their training camp. So all the ladies will be in Durham this weekend training. As you can see, the roster here: Lauren Betts, Aaliyah Boston, Cam Brink, Paige Beckers, Veronica Burton, Sonia Citron, Caitlin Clark, Kalia Copper, Chelsea Gray, Brittany Griner, Dearica Hamby, Kiki Ariafen, Rakia Jackson, Brianna Jones, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, and Jackie.
December 2024, Durham, North Carolina. Team USA training camp. 16 elite women's basketball players came together with one mission: getting ready for the 2026 FIBA World Cup. But there's this massive issue looming over everything. The WNBA Players Association and the league have until January 9th to hammer out this collective bargaining agreement situation. If they don't, we might be looking at no 2026 season at all for these athletes to come back to. This isn't exaggeration or drama. These are the real stakes, the actual clock we're racing against. The names at this camp read like an all-star lineup: Lauren Jackson, Brianna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, and naturally Caitlin Clark. But what's happening here goes way beyond basketball talent. This camp is taking place during the most pivotal period the WNBA has ever faced. What these athletes communicate when they're not on the court could end up mattering more than anything they do during drills.
But I think there are different things that we can find ways to say, no, like, we certainly deserve that and we're not going to compromise on that, and then other things that we can probably compromise on. But like I said, like, this is the biggest moment in the history of the WNBA, and I don't want that to be forgotten. Similar, like, it's important that we find a way to play this next season, and I think our fans and even everybody that has played in this league that has come before us deserve that as well.
Pay attention to her exact words here. This is the biggest moment in the history of the league. She doesn't hedge, doesn't say it's among the biggest. She says the biggest, period. Then she immediately shifts to what actually counts: finding solutions to ensure next season happens. Caitlin Clark gets something that apparently needs to be stated plainly. A league that's not hosting games cannot expand. Consider where the WNBA stood just 12 months back. The 2024 season hadn't tipped off yet. Nobody could predict whether Caitlin Clark's college dominance would carry over professionally. Angel Reese was an unproven pro commodity. League-wide attendance averaged roughly 6,500 fans per game. Jump to right now. The Indiana Fever, by themselves, pulled over 17,000 fans per game on average. That's not gradual improvement. That's a complete transformation. But what makes Caitlin's message so powerful isn't just about playing the sport. She's addressing the business fundamentals that seem to be fading into the background during these talks. The WNBA just wrapped its most successful season in history. TV viewership jumped 70%. Fresh media contracts worth $2.2 billion across 11 years got signed. Expansion franchise fees reached $50 million. This is the kind of trajectory every professional sports league dreams about achieving.
Can we just give it up for Caitlin Clark's answer? Thank you, Caitlin. This is the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen, and it's not something that can be messed up. I feel like I have been screaming this at the top of my lungs through all of the messiness that has happened over the past 2 seasons in the WNBA. You have a moment right now in women's basketball, and specifically in the WNBA. You have a boom that we have never seen in the history of this league. Do whatever you can to not mess it up, and they've already done multiple things that is like shooting themselves in the foot.
And there it is.
She acknowledges that certain demands will need give and take, and that's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to face right now. Players are pushing for charter flights league-wide, not just for postseason competition. They want increased revenue sharing percentages. They want improved compensation across every roster spot. Here's the thing though, they absolutely deserve every single one of those things. The real question isn't about what they deserve. It's about what can realistically be secured right now, without triggering a work stoppage that destroys all this progress. Kelsey Plum shared something revealing at this same training camp. She described the CBA discussions as disheartening, mentioned the two sides remain far apart on reaching any deal. That's December 2024, with January 9th rushing toward everyone. There's not much runway left to close a substantial gap. Unlike the NBA, which can survive a lockout thanks to its established fan base and massive financial infrastructure, the WNBA operates under completely different circumstances. This league is still establishing its foundation. You cannot hit pause on building something when you're only halfway through construction.
Team that is playing against them. Kelsey Plum off the screen, kicks to Caitlin Clark for three. Caitlin Clark up the court. Another three. Caitlin Clark off the screen, another three. Her shot looks really good. There were other photos of her going around, I feel like the past couple weeks also, saying that it looks like she dropped some of the muscle that she did gain before last season. It's hard to tell. To be honest, you guys, I'm not really like body watching Caitlin Clark.
Watch this sequence closely, because what's unfolding here is precisely why fans have been desperate for WNBA content throughout this offseason. Caitlin Clark hasn't touched the floor in a real game since September 25th, 2024, when the Fever fell to the Connecticut Sun during the first playoff round. That's more than 2 months without any Caitlin Clark basketball, and people have genuinely felt that absence. But check out her mechanics here. The footwork stays crisp, the shooting motion flows naturally. There's zero hesitation in her release. All those debates about whether she added too much muscle during her rookie year, whether that played into her plantar fasciitis and other soft tissue problems, those concerns look less significant when you see her perform like this. She appears relaxed, appears strong, and critically, appears like she's genuinely enjoying herself out there.
Like that, you know, we had the photos last year from Media Day when she was like flexing and all that, and you could clearly see that she had put on a lot of muscle, but it's hard to tell here, so I'm not really going to comment on it. But there were some fans that were saying it looks like she dropped some of the muscle that she put on, and a lot of people were wondering if that is why she had so many soft tissue injuries during last season, but again, I don't know, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And here's another clip, you guys, of Caitlin Clark's signature three. She's dribbling the ball up the court, goes to her left, step back three-point.
Paige Bueckers stepping to the side of Caitlin Clark and hitting the game winner. Obviously, this clip exploded across social media instantly. The people who love criticizing Caitlin jumped all over it like it proved some grand point. But they're completely missing what matters. This is exactly the content fans are hungry for. Two generational players competing against each other in a high-level setting. Not fake controversy, not Twitter arguments, just straight basketball competition at its purest. What makes the Caitlin and Paige dynamic so compelling is they represent different journeys toward the same elite level. Caitlin entered as the most anticipated rookie the WNBA had ever seen, lived up to that massive hype despite constant physical play and scrutiny, then established herself as a genuine star. Paige arrives next season carrying similar expectations but bringing a different toolkit. She's a stronger all-around defender. She adapts better to playing within structured systems. These contrasting approaches make their head-to-head matchups fascinating viewing, but the larger point matters more. This training camp, these competitive scrimmages, this footage, the WNBA desperately needs more of this type of content, not less. A work stoppage eliminates everything. No actual games means no highlight reels, no highlights means no moments going viral. No viral moments means no casual viewers becoming committed fans. the entire growth mechanism shuts down.
And this is the kind of basketball that so many WNBA fans have been missing. And there's another clip that is also currently going viral, and it's Paige Bueckers' sidestep three on Caitlin Clark. And now obviously the Caitlin Clark haters are loving this, but I also love this too. I love to see two great players like Paige, like Caitlin, playing either on the same team or against one another. But check this out. So there's a long rebound here. Paige gets it, pump fake, sidestep, drains the three, and that is game.
Angel Reese posting up against Paige Bueckers, trying to seal off Caitlin Clark from the play. Jackie Young rotating across to provide help defense. This represents the defensive sophistication people kept claiming the WNBA lacked, yet here it sits on full display during a practice environment with players who've barely run plays together. The defensive focus Caitlin draws is undeniable. Even during a scrimmage, even with teammates who theoretically should be taking it easier on each other, you witness the amount of effort required to slow her down. Paige works to deny her any ball touches. Jackie Young slides over, offering defensive support, and this happens without any actual game planning or coordinated defensive schemes. Picture what legitimate playoff intensity defense must look like. This also exposes why the Caitlin Clark can't defend narrative feels so misguided. Look at her positioning throughout this sequence. She's not reaching wildly for steals, not overcommitting, staying square in front of her assignment, forcing opponents into the help defenders. That's textbook fundamental basketball. Is she an elite-level defender? No, but she's solid. And for someone who shoulders the offensive responsibility she does, solid defense is more than sufficient.
For team, we'll just call them Team Gray right here in Team USA training camp. But it is so interesting because so many outlets are picking up this clip and it's like, oh, Paige Bueckers drains a three in Caitlin Clark's face. And she did. She absolutely did. But this is fun. I just love to see all these young players out there competing. And
this moment captures something significant. All these players from separate teams, different backgrounds, different draft classes, connected by a shared objective, suiting up for Team USA, representing their nation, competing at the absolute highest level, and you can feel the energy radiating through every possession. You see it in how they celebrate strong plays. You see it in how they battle on both ends every single time down the court. This showcases what women's basketball becomes when it receives the platform it deserves. But let's tie this directly back to the CBA situation. Because everything we just witnessed, all this positive energy, all this excitement, it vanishes completely if there's no 2026 season. Team USA will continue existing. These players will keep training. But the foundation making moments like this possible, the WNBA itself, would suffer devastating damage. What makes this CBA negotiation so dangerous is both sides hold valid positions, but the potential consequences of failure aren't evenly distributed. If players stand firm and trigger a work stoppage, they sacrifice a year of prime earning and competitive years while the league hemorrhages all its momentum. If the league refuses to budge on player demands, they're gambling with a potential strike that could permanently erode fan interest and destroy player management relationships. What players are requesting sounds entirely reasonable on its surface. Charter flights for every team throughout the season, not exclusively during playoffs. Currently, the WNBA permits teams to use charter travel for back-to-back games and playoff runs, but regular season travel remains primarily commercial flight. For perspective, the NBA secured full charter flight access back in 2014. The WNBA expects its players to perform at an elite professional level while managing commercial flight delays, connections, and the physical wear and tear that accompanies that travel schedule. It simply doesn't work long-term. They're also demanding higher revenue distribution. The existing CBA signed in 2020 doesn't include a straightforward revenue split like the NBA's even 50-50 model. Instead, the WNBA operates under a complicated formula guaranteeing players receive either 50% of league revenue or a predetermined dollar figure, whichever is larger. Players want transparency and they want a substantially bigger portion, especially considering the league just locked down those enormous media contracts valued at $200 million annually starting in 2020. Their timing makes complete strategic sense, but complications emerge here. The WNBA, based on Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's statements, has operated at a financial loss during most years since its founding. The league receives subsidies from the NBA totaling tens of millions of dollars every year. Now there's legitimate debate about how accurate those reported losses actually are. Some financial analysts suggest the accounting methods are intentionally conservative, that the WNBA generates more profit than leadership publicly acknowledge. But even accepting the league's stated numbers at face value, certain financial realities cannot be dismissed. Players argue back that investment drives returns, that committing resources to charter flights, improved compensation and enhanced working conditions will generate returns through better player performance, superior fan experiences, and accelerated league growth. They're probably correct. The challenge becomes whether the league possesses the financial capacity for that investment right now, or whether they require 1 or 2 more years of revenue expansion before making those commitments. What makes Caitlin Clark's statements so vital is her recognition of this tension. She's not dismissing player demands as unreasonable. She's pointing out that the price of not playing basketball could exceed the cost of accepting some compromise. That's a sophisticated business perspective that, frankly, more voices in these negotiations desperately need to embrace. Consider everything riding on these talks. The 2024 WNBA season averaged 1.2 million viewers for nationally broadcast games. That represents a massive jump from 440,000 viewers in 2023. The WNBA Finals pulled 1.63 million average viewers, the strongest numbers since attendance surged 48% compared to the previous year. These aren't minor incremental gains, this is explosive expansion, and it's expansion directly connected to the presence of players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But growth remains fragile, particularly in women's professional sports, where media attention can disappear rapidly if the product stops being consistently accessible. The NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, experienced this firsthand. They built momentum through 2021, then confronted front office controversies and erratic scheduling throughout 2022, and their viewership collapsed. Recovering that ground took 2 full years. The WNBA cannot afford that kind of disruption right now. Then there's the expansion dimension to factor in. The WNBA welcomes a San Francisco franchise for the 2025 season. They've confirmed future teams in Portland and Toronto. Expansion fees sit at $50 million per franchise, which signals that investors genuinely believe in where this league is heading. But those investors are banking on consistency. They're betting on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Paige Bueckers being on the floor, creating storylines and moving tickets. A work stoppage jeopardizes all of it. Caitlin Clark specifically has walked away from multiple lucrative opportunities to stay committed to the W. She received an offer to join Ice Cube's Big 3 League. She turned it down. She fielded approaches about playing internationally during the off-season. She said no. She's been strategic with endorsement partnerships, selecting brands aligned with expanding women's basketball rather than simply maximizing her personal revenue. Her dedication to this league is beyond question, and when someone demonstrating that level of commitment says we must find a solution to keep playing, everybody needs to pay attention. The January 9th deadline is approaching fast. If a fresh CBA isn't finalized by that date, the current agreement expires. The league could implement a lockout. Players could initiate a strike once you enter that territory, once work stoppages and legal warfare begin. The relationship between players and league leadership turns poisonous. Trust gets destroyed, and even after eventually reaching some agreement, the scars remain. So what's the path forward? Genuine compromise, substantial, meaningful compromise from both parties. Players need to identify their absolute deal breakers and show willingness to phase in their other requests. Maybe universal charter flights for all franchises isn't financially possible in 2026, but expanded charter access with a binding commitment to full coverage by 2020. Maybe the revenue distribution doesn't reach 50% immediately, but there's a graduated structure that arrives there over the contract's lifespan. The league needs to recognize these player demands aren't outrageous. These women are elite professional athletes, generating legitimate revenue and authentic fan engagement. Treating them like a charity project or a minor league operation inflicts lasting damage on the WNBA's credibility. If you want recognition as a major professional sports league, you must invest in your product like a major professional sports league operates. What Caitlin Clark accomplished at that Team USA press conference was delivering both sides a reality check. She reminded everyone what genuinely mattered. Playing the game, expanding its reach, building on the incredible momentum they've generated. Everything else, all the negotiating strategies and public positioning, It's all secondary to that fundamental mission. If the WNBA and the Players Association cannot determine how to make that happen, if they allow this moment to dissolve because of pride or inflexibility or myopic thinking, history will record it as one of sport's most catastrophic miscalculations. The coming weeks will shape the direction of women's basketball for the next 10 years. Will the WNBA capitalize on 2024's remarkable momentum, or will they waste it through a work stoppage that alienates supporters and tarnishes the brand? Will players secure the working standards and pay they've earned, or will they face choosing between their convictions and their livelihoods? These are the questions that actually matter. Caitlin Clark just told everyone exactly what the answer needs to be: find a path to play. Because when you strip everything else away, that's the entire point. The game itself, the fans supporting it, the future of women's basketball, everything else is just background noise.